Yeah. On the note of iffy series,
Yeah.
Dark, or sorry, Near, what do you have for us?
So I watched what a
The
title.
best
What a title.
series?
I watched Dead Mount Death Play.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's a
Best series of
hell
the
of a
season
title.
because it was made by the Durada author.
Yeah. So this is a Geek Toys production.
What a yeah, Geek Toys like they made Plunderer. I remember if I remember
Yeah.
correctly.
So
That was like
Geek
I
Toys
saw that. I was like,
did
nope, nope, I'm out.
Geek Toys did Plunderer. They did
They did
Genso Sengokushi. They did Day Life 4.
Kensuke. What the is this? They did Data
Um,
Bullet movies, which is not terrible. I think
yeah,
it was pretty decent. And then
and
they did a bunch of like other weird shit, like
yeah,
rewrite it or whatever. What was I remember this series? Wasn't it like not good?
it
It's
was
not good,
not
right?
good. Yep, correct. You are
No-
correct, my friend.
None
It
of
was,
these were good except for like the data series, but like even that was kind of like carried from this previous stuff.
yeah.
Oh my
Um,
god.
and yeah, like you said, this is original creator is Ryogo Narita, um,
Hmm.
who's done Durara, um,
Bakano.
Bakano. They're the creator and writer of Fate Strange Fake, um, which a lot of people like apparently. It's getting an anime soon.
Mhm.
Um, pretty
You
popular
excited for
guy.
that, Near?
I am
You
kinda, yeah.
excited for a new Saber?
Yeah. Um, and director, I mean, most of the cast here, or most of the staff rather, I'm gonna be honest, it's kind of like nobodies. But the
Mhm.
director is kind of a bit funny. Um, he directed Sword Art Online, Alicization, um, Shin Sakura Taisen, which was not very good.
The new
Uh,
one wasn't that good.
the anime, not really. The game was good. Yeah, the anime was kind of mediocre. Um, he apparently was storyboarder for Overlord, which I think some of the other staff is pulled in from Overlord here. But the funny stuff,
Which season?
first season
Good.
apparently. Um,
He did some okay stuff like before like 8 channel and Saki and stuff like that, but it's like
yeah, but
but even
um,
like
I mean it's
it's
Saki like season 2 though, right?
yeah, the thing is like Saki, if you go back to it, it's like Saki is good in that like in its individual episodes. But if you think about how Saki was paced in terms of like the overall anime, like it was not that good. And I say
No,
this as like a Saki fan.
yeah.
Like, so,
But yeah, he was also director for Gakusen Toshi Asterisk, both
and
seasons,
Horizon.
which is
Horizon was also poorly paced.
yeah, the Asterisk War, and
Mahoka.
the wonderful Mahoka, or the Irregular Magic High School, if you forget what that one is.
So he does
You're
have like
playing.
issues with like pacing and stuff like that, I think.
These are some pretty good
Maybe, yeah.
series you're talking about, Near.
Definitely, yeah, definitely. It's pretty amazing stuff. But yeah, he's director, script, and series composition for
Yeah, so
this.
he's pretty much like he
The
has
man in
yeah, the man
charge.
guy.
Yep.
Yeah, with the
Um,
request. So what just can you read the plot summary first?
yeah, sure. So it's a showdown for the ages as the legendary hero takes on the corpse god necromancer. But when the dust settles, something isn't quite right. In the final moments of their epic confrontation, the corpse god's final gambit shot was wholly unexpected. Reincarnation magic. Across space and time, a boy named Shinoyama
Yes.
awakens feeling not
Get it,
quite
get it.
himself.
No Yama.
Ah.
Get it. I get it.
Who could have expected that the climactic battle between good and evil would turn out like this? So this is a reverse isekai, if you couldn't tell.
By the way, can I say something? I like how it's like the hero takes on the corpse god necromancer, and then they're like, Wait, we didn't expect reincarnation magic from the
Yeah.
corpse god necro.
The
I'm
corpse
like, wait a
god
minute.
so the corpse god necromancer is a giant skeleton monster
Yes.
in episode 1 with a brain in a jar attached to his neck, which is like, I don't know, personally, I think you're a corpse god necromancer, I feel like you've probably transcended the need for a brain. But that's just
Or
me.
like jars, yeah.
Yeah. So he's like a big skeleton kaiju with a brain in a jar.
Mhm.
And then the hero is, the hero, and he defeats him. But in the final battle, he casts this weird looking magic, and the hero is like, I've never seen magic like this before. And then the hero's like, I don't give a fuck. I'm gonna kill you anyway. So he does that. He beats the corpse god necromancer. Um, and then we wake up with our protagonist, who is gasp the corpse god necromancer. He wakes up in the body of recently deceased Shinoyama Poka, who is a young high school boy who was recently assassinated for some mysterious reason.
What?
Yep.
Wait, assassinated?
Yes, he was assassinated. There was a hit on him, and he was assassinated. So he wakes up. His neck has been fucking completely cut wide open. He's got blood all over him. And he decides to walk the streets of Japan. And then the police go up to him, and they're like, dude, are you okay? And he's like, I don't know what's going on. And then our female lead, Misaki Sakimiya, rescues him from the police, right? And then she tries to kill him again because she's the
Nice.
one who killed Shinayama, right?
Oh, so she's like one of the church people or whatever?
No,
She's one of the dead moms?
she's just an assassin.
Oh.
Oh, okay.
So
Oh, okay.
she's the assassin that killed Shinoyama, right?
Yes.
And she's like, why aren't you dead? So she tries to kill him again. And then she chases him into this abandoned building that was used by Yakuza to like torture and kill people, basically, as they do, right? And because of the all the dead spirits and stuff, he's able to reawaken his corpse god necromancy magic, right? And he fucking kills Misaki like super hardcore with a big
Hardcore.
spiky skeleton hand. And
Okay.
he's like, and he goes, oops, damn, I didn't mean to do
Oops.
that. So he revives her as a zombie. And then
Okay.
the like assassination, like the assassin like guild or whatever the fuck like organization, that had the hit on Shiniyama is like why are you magic? Like what the fuck's going on? And he basically
Okay.
gives the big lore dump. And the leader is like, okay, I believe you. And they give him
Okay.
a place
I
to
mean, I
stay.
get it.
Yeah, they give him a place to stay. And they're kind of like, all right, you work for us now. And he's like, all right, sure.
Okay.
And then he saves a bunch of kids from a burning building for some reason.
Awesome. Yeah. Okay.
Because even though he's the corpse god, necromancer, and yeah, I'm gonna say that every time.
I like how you have to like kind of pause to remember the third part. It's like,
Yeah.
oh fuck, I know there was like a third kind of qualifier.
Yeah, even though he's the corpse god necromancer, he values life, especially children's lives, right?
Yeah, as you do, right? Yes.
Yeah, of course. And then it goes into his backstory, right? And
Wait,
apparently,
how many times is he doing like a? Because you said that there was a previous lore dump where he tells like the boss of the Assassin's Guild like what he was. Why is he
yeah.
going into a second lore dump here?
Well, it's like I don't know, it's like a dream sequence or something. It's like a weird like storybook segment where it's kind of just like, yeah. By the way, um, in his previous life, he was born with like these special evil eyes. And with the evil
Yeah.
eyes, he can see, especially like spirits, right, of the
Oh, this is
dead.
talking about Polka, right? Specifically, not the
No,
corpse.
this is the like Polka's gone, right? Like he's
Oh, so
fucking
the corpse
dead.
god is also talking about his own elemental eyes.
Yeah, so the corpse
Okay.
god in his previous life was born with special like evil eyes, and he was able
Okay.
to see the spirits of the dead.
Nice.
And because he was able to see the spirits of the dead, the Empire or whatever used him and trained him as a necromancer, and used him to wage wars and stuff. But then eventually the Empire was like it fell, right? But because he's a fucking necromancer and he's in like a skeleton body at this point, he's basically immortal, right? And he keeps talking about how he just wants like a peaceful life or whatever. So he sort of exiles himself to like this cave or whatever. And then within his like life of exile, he starts taking care of these like this group of orphans, basically, right? And he ends up, getting attached to these kids, and they sort of grow up with him, and they make like a small village, right? Um,
Mhm.
but then the church comes along, right? And the church is like, these kids and this village are thralls of the necromancer, right? So they all need to be torched and burned at the stake and executed and stuff.
Yeah, the usual stuff.
And so they do that, and then the necromancer dude's like, what the fuck? Like, why'd you do that?
Uh-huh.
So he decides to get revenge, and he kills all the soldiers. And then he becomes, the corpse god necromancer, the big bad evil skeleton dude. And then the hero defeats him.
Wait,
And it
wait, wait. So he was only he was only a regular necromancer before, but then
yes,
afterwards he becomes the corpse god
yeah, he
necromancer.
becomes the corpse god necromancer because like they didn't really go into it too deep. But it's basically like,
But he like tried to gain
so
more
he
power
he
to like
killed
do more things.
he kills all the soldiers, right? And
Yes,
then
yes,
he reincarnate uh you know zombifies them or whatever, right?
yes.
And because of all the dark magic and all the corpses and stuff and all the spirits, then like more and more spirits sort of got drawn to the cave, and his power grew and grew, and he essentially became like this
Oh, okay,
giant
okay, okay, okay.
skeleton lord, right?
Okay, okay.
And his magic got stronger, basically.
Mhm.
But yeah, essentially, they sort of say that like you know, he was only evil realistically in the eyes of the church, and he was only really lashing out because the church like killed all of his friends and family, basically.
Okay.
Which is understandable, I think. If you've got corpse god necromancer powers, you might as well use him, right? Um,
Mhm.
but yeah, that's basically his backstory. He values life to an extent, right? He thinks life, like human lives, are essentially like the way they describe his morality is a bit odd. Like they say, human life is sort of a toy in his eyes, but toys are, you know, tools to bring joy, right, to children, basically.
Okay.
So he's sort of a weird little dude. Um, but yeah, the that's the sort of basic setup is, it's a reverse Isekai. He's a necromancer god. He gets set up with this sort of um like assassination like sort of job, and he takes on like assassination jobs of, uh like taking out bad guys, basically. Um and
So other than obviously the exposition or whatever, which is also kind of like a subplot or like a sub kind of
yeah.
like something else other than the other sort of backbone of the series. So the main thing is that you, it's mini arcs, right? Not episodes. It's not episodic. It's mainly mini arc.
Yeah, it seems to be it's probably going to be mini arcs with a general overarching plot, if I had to
Yes, yes,
guess.
yes, yes, yes.
Because
The
there's
overarching plot is going to be like kind of going back to him like resolving everything with
Yeah.
everybody who are wrong with the
There's a lot of characters that they've introduced so far, as would expect from the Durara creator.
Yeah.
In the first couple episodes, he gets his position as the weird assassination thing. He's sort of being taken care of by Misaki, who's again the assassin girl who's now a zombie. She's also a bit of a psychopath. She fucking loves killing people. And then Takumi, who's sort of like this, guy in the chair, like computer whiz. He's like the information broker. He's the hacker man, right? That sees all the security cameras. He's pretty base too. He's like a otaku kind of guy. And then in the last episode, like episode 3 at the end, they revealed these two like detectives, and they're like occultic detectives, right? Like they deal with cases that are like, weird, with like ghosts or werewolves or whatever the fuck they alluded to at the end. So yeah, I think that's sort of going to be like the main like mini arcs, is sort of the detectives sort of chasing down the main character as he sort of goes through these like arcs of dealing with bad guys or whatever, right?
Right.
And
And
then
most of these bad guys are like the church people, or is it like just like random people he's
it's
like
just like
contracted to assassinate?
just bad dudes, like just bad
Yeah, okay.
people, like serial killers or whatever, like
And
child
how
killers.
much of like a power fantasy slash, or like how much of a struggle is it? Is it mostly kind of like he's just like, yeah, I'm
No,
just gonna walk in
he
and
has
do
all of his magic, right? So he's OP as
okay.
fuck, right?
Okay.
He's able to summon skeletons and make big skeleton arms, and like he could basically just sweep if he wants to.
Okay.
But can he beat Ainz?
Probably not. I don't know. Probably not.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah.
It's like the fights aren't like tense or anything. It is very much like a power fantasy kind of thing.
Mhm.
But they're cool. Audio visually, I think the show looks serviceable. It's very gray, which is like I guess
Well, how it's
something.
supposed to be,
Yeah,
right?
I mean something you'd expect from something called Deadmount Deathplay with the corpse god necromancer as your main character. But yeah, I also think they I don't know if they're actually going to do anything with it, but I feel like they're going to bring like the hero from the previous world into like the modern world somehow, because like
But he's gonna be like definitely an asshole, right? Like that's
well,
how
more than
this
likely he's
story's
probably
going.
going to be
Yeah.
a villain, right?
Mhm.
Because like in the first initial like fight they do, like the hero doesn't really say anything, right? Like he's kind of just like a badass, right?
Let me ask Nair, is the hero a boy or a girl?
He's a boy. He's
All
a
right, then
dude.
never
He's
mind.
a short-haired, brown-haired dude in armor. Like,
If
Yeah,
they try to make it
Ryogo
a
Narita
girl, I'd be
has
like, oh,
a
here we go.
Ryogo Narita has a fetish for having dudes duke it out in the
yeah,
middle of urban streets. So
yeah. So, but yeah. I will say, this series is a lot more self-aware than I thought it was going to be. Right?
the thing is,
Um,
it's like the general idea of the general theme of the story, like the whole like lore and the corpse god whatever aside, like the general
yeah.
theme and like the setups of the story is quite standard. It's like it's very much like,
Yeah, I mean it's pretty
oh
standard, but it's
yeah,
also like
yeah.
a lot of like the corpse god necromancer stuff. A lot of that is really hammed up. It's sort of
Yeah,
like intentionally,
I'm
it's
not saying
intentionally
standard in a
cheesy.
negative way.
Yeah,
Yeah. I'm saying it in a positive way. It's like pretty standard. It's like it's just very interesting. I think that's might be the word I want to stick with right now. It's very interesting that Ryugo Narita um took a relatively standard structure, but then thought like he could kind of run with it by literally just being like, okay, but what if corpse god necromancer? You know what I mean?
yeah,
It's like an interesting way to sell things.
And to be fair, I think it works. I think it works pretty well.
Yeah. It's
Like
the
the
equivalent of like having like a plain cake, but then the frosting on top is like there's so much like random icing, like
yeah,
it's like
and
that. Yeah.
it's cheesy, it's corny, but it's
But it
really
works.
endearing, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like the characters are all very likable. There's a good balance of like them being sort of like serious, like character moments, like when they're talking about the backstory and stuff. Um, and then like some more comedic moments, and then just being like, yeah, I'm the corpse god necromancer, and all the characters around him being kind of like, what's up with this dude? Like get a load of this guy kind of
Yeah.
stuff. But yeah, it's all very cheesy, it's all very corny,
Mhm.
and it's very enjoyable. I really thought like I kind of thought this series was either going to be like really like chuny and dumb and like
Yeah,
completely like
yeah.
straight face, and it's like, yeah, like he's so cool because he's the necromancer guy and he's awesome and badass, but it's not really like that. um and
What's
I
that? What was that one series that like one really cheesy series where it's like they had like the couple or whatever? It's like it wasn't asterisk. It might have started with another A. Do you Toast? Do you know the series I'm talking about? Like
One?
the
Which one?
never mind. It's like it might have started with an A, but it's like it's not asterisk core. It's like it has a boy and a girl, and they're like both okay, wait, never mind. Sorry, you're going. I'm gonna try to remember the title later. But
um
it's like they're a very cheesy series, but I think this series is definitely avoiding the negative parts of that. Sure.
yeah, again, I do think uh it's pretty early. There are definitely a lot of pitfalls this series can fall into, because they do set up quite a bit of there's a lot of threads here, right? Like I said, there's the potential um, storyline of them like continuing with like the hero coming in and trying to fuck shit up. There's like the weird plot, like subplot of um, like they don't know who exactly put the hit on Shinoyama, like the original body, who, by the way, like Shinoyama's soul like is still like around. Like the necromancer dude like um put it into like a drone, and he can still like
Mhm.
Nice.
communicate with the like the dude's soul. Um, so like there's that mystery of like who ordered the hit. Um, there's the mystery of like who Shinoyama actually was, like to get the hit ordered on him. There's like the mystery of these detective dudes. There's the mystery of who these like assassin people really are and why exactly they're just like totally willing to give this necromancer dude a place to stay and a job and stuff like that. Like there's a lot of plot threads that are set up early on, which again you
Mhm.
would expect from the creator of Durarara. But it's just a matter of like how they actually, you know, um, manifest those and expand upon those, as to whether they actually bear fruit or not, right? Um,
Do you think this story does a little bit better job of making the cast a little bit more compact and not like
yeah,
having the cast
so
be super chaotic? Because I know Judah like even
because
Judah like started out kind of okay, but then it became very incoherent later on in like the
yeah,
later
so
arcs.
Durara, I think the issue with Durarara is it introduces like all of its characters almost immediately. Like they do the thing where it's like, a character will be walking down the street and they'll have a conversation, and then the camera will pan like across the other side of the street, and there's this other character that's having their own conversation, and then like these two characters that have been introduced like back to back, they
Mhm.
won't even like meet each other until like season 2 or something, and it's like, well, why did you like why are you like having all of these plot lines going on at the same time when they're not necessarily even like impacting each other at all, you know what I mean?
Right, exactly.
I think this cast of characters is initially smaller, right? They haven't introduced a shitload of characters all at once.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah. That's important.
so that is also another like benefit to this series. Um, a lot of the plot lines that they've sort of established are like it's like it isn't really anything concrete. Like it's a lot of foreshadowing. So they can go with one or the other and not necessarily have to do all of them at once.
Mhm.
Which is another benefit that this series has going for it. Whether they actually do just focus on one or the other is, you know, another question. But um, I do think this series sort of initial setup is definitely a lot more like easy to follow than Durarara was.
Mm.
Because I remember like initially watching Durarara and being like, am I supposed to know like
Every single
what
one of these
yeah,
characters, yeah.
like all of these character motivations and how exactly like the events of these storylines are impacting the other, and it's like no, they're kind of just happening. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah,
But
I do
Nier,
I do think the initial setup for this is a lot more cohesive and comprehensive, which is a big boon. Um,
but Nier, is it better than Tokyo Ghoul?
I mean, a lot of things are
Yeah,
right.
it's not a very hard
So
bar to
I would
I
say I would say yes. I mean, this series isn't like an edgy like oh I'm a fucking badass ghoul hunter and I'm cool and awesome and there's blood and gore. Like this isn't one of those series, you know? So
I also by the way, I remember the name of the series I want to set as a contrast. It's not like it's definitely a little bit more aware than something like Twin Star Exorcists,
right.
where it's like
Uh,
you had the I'm a
what about
powerful
Aono
expert.
Exorcist?
um Mount what?
Not Aono
Blue
Exorcist?
Exorcist?
Yeah, I don't know. Exorcist is a little bit different. I
Yeah.
think that's a
I
little
mean
bit,
that's
yeah,
more of a just a general shonen.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, something like Twin Star Exorcist or whatever stuff like that is definitely much less
Yeah.
aware, and they're just like, but okay. Um, anything else that you want to cover for Dead Mount Death Play? I'm glad that it kind of ended up being better than we feared it might be in the previews, but
Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised. I think I was also pretty surprised by the other visuals. They're a lot nicer looking than I would have
from what you expected
expected
from Geek
from
Toys, yeah,
Geek Toys. The fight scenes are actually um pretty nice. They're not like the best, right? Um,
yeah.
but from a studio like Geek Toys, it's like this actually looks pretty decent. The CG doesn't look terrible. There's quite a few CG skeletons in the show. But personally, I think the CG skeletons kind of brings up the campy factor and it makes it a little bit more enjoyable. So that's just my personal opinion though. But yeah, the CG doesn't look too bad. But yeah, overall, I was pleasantly surprised. I think this is the current like skeleton of this feels like a very solid like 7.5 out of 10, I'd say. Um, I think it's a pretty easy recommend for someone who wants like, you know, a slightly more comedic yet still somewhat serious, um, you know, series. You know, maybe somebody who's looking for something a little bit more fresh on like the isekai take, because again, it is a reverse isekai,
Hmm.
similar to something like Devil is a Part Timer, but maybe a little bit more serious than that. Um,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but
Didn't
yeah,
the season 2 of Hataraku Mason kind of suck though?
from what I heard, yeah. So
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I warned everybody about that as well, where it's like
yeah,
I don't want to get into. Yeah,
but yeah. Overall, solid start. Um, I think it's definitely worth checking out.
and Yugo Narita doesn't stain his name, at least
Yeah,
since I
not yet anyway.
yeah. All right, well, thank you very very much for helping to cover Dead Mount Death Play. I know you kind of thought that you were potentially taking a bullet for the team, but I'm
Yeah,
glad
for
it
sure.
didn't turn out like that. Um, Yeah, and it is originally by Ryogo Narita. It is a manga original, right? I believe.
Yeah.
It is a
Yes.
manga original. Turned into an anime adaptation, of course, by Geek Toys and whoever else that they were hiring. Um, a little bit of an interesting team, but they definitely made it through. Um, Source material ended up being better than expected. But yeah, if you want to check out some Ryogo Narita's newest work and something that's um, pretty solid smooth sailing for in terms of like character structures, but it also has the name of the corpse god necromancer and all that stuff. You want to check that out, please do check out Dead Mount Death Play. And with that,
I'm gonna remember
we
that
are
title like a year from now. I
Yeah.
won't.
just type like dead and death anime like enough
Yeah.
like into Google and you'll probably find
Dead,
it. Yeah.
Death, Corpse God, Necromancer, anime.
Yeah, exactly. That's unironically a good way
Yeah.
to find it. Oh, Jesus.